let's queer up business. Attorneys general from 7 red states sue Target for obscene children's pride attire. Republican attorneys general from 7 states have signed a letter to Target insinuating that the retailer's LGBTQ+ youth content and merchandise may be considered obscene and in violation of the law. The letter criticizes Target for offering youth-sized clothing featuring pride themes and asserts that the states are obliged to enforce state laws protecting children from content that sexualizes them, including obscenity laws. The letter also suggests that Target may be breaching the law by making decisions that are allegedly unprofitable and not in the best interests of its shareholders, citing this as a violation of the company's fiduciary duty. The letter, which is 6 pages long, does not provide specific details regarding potential legal consequences if Target continues to sell the merchandise in question. Lacking legislation that specifically declares content such as Target's Pride line as obscene, some state attorneys general may turn to interpret old obscenity laws as including LGBTQ+ content. While most legislation labeling LGBTQ+ content as obscene did not pass this year, advocates are concerned about the growing momentum behind such measures. There is an escalating trend among states in targeting the LGBTQ+ community, particularly on issues pertaining to gender identity. The 7 attorneys general are Todd Rokita, Tim Griffin, Raul Labrador, Daniel Cameron, Lynn Fitch, Andrew Bailey, and Alan Wilson.
I'm going to have to pass Jeff smelling salts any second.
Listen, I think we can easily, without naming the states that are part of this, these attorney generals, to label them
Tennessee
as red states.
Texas.
I looked them up. We have Indiana, Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Missouri, and South Carolina are amongst those.
And Mississippi.
Mississippi, excuse
no
me.
Florida?
Not yet.
It's
Florida has not signed on yet. But interestingly, again, if you were to rank those same states on education of children, they probably would also fall at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. 44, 46, 48, 40.
Yeah, and I actually cross-referenced because today CNBC released their top states for business. So they rank all 50 states, and they have about 10 different categories.
How did Kentucky do?
Kentucky was actually not in the bottom 5 or 6. However, Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Florida was number 41. But these are now things that, again, companies are looking at as they grow their businesses. Mm-hmm. And so this diversity, equity, and inclusion piece that we're trying to reverse here in Florida and many of the red states, it's getting a lot of notice, and it's dragging down the scores of some of these states. I mean, again, Florida undoubtedly has one of the strongest economies in the country and didn't rank in the top 5. And a big feature of that was again around their affordability of cost of living, which impacts LGBTQ plus people more.
Insurance.
Yes, exactly. Infrastructure, and of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which Florida ranked in the bottom, 10% of the list.
And you think that these attorneys general will be more concerned with their state's low literacy and high teen pregnancy rates instead of looking at the displays at Target? I mean, seriously. Yeah. But you'd be wrong if you thought that.
I think it's fine that they're weaponizing it. Like, we're weaponizing LGBTQ clothing, but we actually have T-shirts that you can buy for my nephews or anyone's kids, right? That actually have real weapons on them, like guns. Oh. And how come we're not talking about weaponizing camo? You're militarizing your children now. Oh my goodness! But that's okay. Let's save us from the 1% of the children who are actually going to be. I'm done. Sorry. Who are actually going to? Well, frankly, kids are going to wear what they want to wear anyway, and they're going to show their personality. And if there are any kids watching this. Yes, show yourself. You are beautiful and shine, honey, shine.
I think we have to be careful with this, and I'm going to definitely be following it because this will set precedent.
Yes.
And if they start here, like they did with all the legislation, if they start with the gay community, then it's going to go to the Black community and the Jewish community and the people who are making clothes that are women. To me, it's just beyond ridiculous.
And you know why? Because, I hate this word. I really do hate this word. But these attorney generals are homophobic.
Yeah.
I hate the label. I hate that I get into the politics. I wallow in the mud of this situation, but it is purely homophobic. Because if you went into a retailer as the Attorney General and said, the clothing that is made for a highly sexualized entertainment industry or a music industry or a film industry, that is exactly the same thing as what they're saying about whatever they're seeing in LGBT, that is because they're homophobic. That is the reason why they've come to that conclusion. It serves the narrative that they're doing, which I think is really despicable. The other thing that I think is you don't have to worry. While I appreciate your warning of it needs to be watched, really it probably doesn't. There's not a chance in the world. There's not a chance in the world. I don't care about the crazy 6-3 in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not going to sustain any kind of challenge of the imaging of merchandise of clothing in Target. It's impossible, because if it was possible, let's end the republic. Because democracy as we know it is over. Because that's what these 7 attorney generals are advocating, which is where you get to concerns about what would they do about black people or about women's health care choices or the speech on your shirt is protected First Amendment speech. And that's what they're after. They don't want rainbows. Please define how the rainbow is a violation of sexualizing our children. It's impossible. You can't do it. One last thing to prove how ridiculous these state attorney generals are. They're trying to investigate that perhaps Target has not lived up to its fiduciary responsibility to its shareholders. The chairman of Target busted out laughing when he saw that assertion. It is beyond stupid.
It is.
These attorney generals are homophobic and stupid. You don't have a chance in the world. And the entire country is going to laugh at you as you pursue it, which is why you don't quantify any charges, because you can't, you idiots.
How do you really feel?
Tell us how you feel.
What about toddlers and tiaras, by the way? We're talking about sexualizing children, and they have these little girls walking around with big hair and makeup and dentures, or whatever veneers rather, fake eyelashes, and you're saying that that's not sexualizing children? Oh, I'm sorry. It's just for a certain demographic of people who will watch that show.
Homophobic. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ+ community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.